Well, hello everyone, and welcome to another episode of Harebrained Games. We're doing a special segment today. This is a particular topic that came up locally recently, wherein I was asked something that was out of my usual element. I am a solo gamer or a two, three, maybe four-player gamer. I'm really good at it. I really am. I can do the solo thing. I can do the hermit thing like nobody's business. I was born for it. However, there are people out there who actually want to play with more than just themselves or a couple other people. And that is where the idea come up today for games that play really well for 6 or 7 people. That's right. That's like 7 times more people than I normally play with. And twice as many people as I sometimes play with. So without getting into any further messes, let's talk about the games for 6 or 7 players that I find entertaining, even though they're not necessarily the ones I play often. Let's get a few out of the way right now. There's a few ye old favorites that everyone should probably take a look at. One is Pit. Pit is almost 120 years old, so clearly it has a lot going for it. I am amazed at its endurance. It clearly doesn't have the aching joints I do. Pit is old-fashioned, screaming and yelling in it, yelling. If you like that sort of like hubbub, Pit is generally the game, and it has held up well. I know chess and Go and others maybe, but that one's held up really well. Dutch Blitz is another one that has been out a while. It is another fast action, rapid pace, slapjack kind of affair. I despise that kind of game style. I just don't do real-time games. You can do certain ones right for me and certain ones wrong. Dutch Blitz isn't the kind I like. I don't think I've ever even come close to winning against anybody, but it's really loved by a lot of people, and so that's another one to keep in mind. The only one I would say I would never ever touch with a metal pole of any size is Bunko. Bunko to me is a fate worse than death. It's basically loud group lobotomy. So let's get with the downers out of here and let's play the 6 to 7 player games that I do like. Let's do the top 10, maybe 11 games, and I'm going to go from least complexity to most complexity. Now, this one's a little bit on the cusp because it plays 5. You could probably push it to 6. But it is Llama. Now, what does Llama do for you? Well, Llama tell you what it does for you. It it's a very imagine Uno, but with a lot more of a point. Uno is not necessarily my favorite, but at the same time, it's not my least favorite, but Llama takes it in a different direction. It's very simple, but it has just enough of a twist that you could always start the group out with this game, and it plays really well, even at high player counts. It's nice and speedy, so Llama's one to think of. The next one is Sushi Go Party. This one is highly popular. It is very simple. It's not Uno, but it's a set collection game where you're collecting different things to create sushi dishes. Another fast action game that you can play in a heartbeat and generally want to play again. Um, Consolation prize, there's another game called Point Salad that kind of could be similar, but your mileage varies. Next is Wits and Wagers. Now, if you like to team up as teams, Wits and Wagers is one of the trivia games that I like because it doesn't require that you know trivia or that you know exactly the trivia, because eventually you run out of things to remember and your brain cells just fly out and you get like knowledge falls out when you're walking around, and then you don't have it when it comes time to play Trivial Pursuit or some other Lord of mercy, awful game. Wits and Wagers instead makes you make approximation guesses, and those are a lot easier for people to play in large groups. Generally, you'll group it up 4-on-4, 3-on-4, 1-on-6, doesn't matter. But this is another one. It's very, very well known. You can get it at any department store, unlike a lot of these other games, but I like it. Fuji Flush is another card game where you are trying to get rid of the cards in your hand. Plays really well up to 7. Fuji Flush is by Friedman Freeze, who likes all his games to have Fs in them. Don't know what the F that is about, but there you go. So give that one a shot if you want a little esoteric Friedman Freeze Friday fun frolicky fun fest knowledge for Fuji Flush. Whew. A newer game on the horizon is Just One. Just One inverts the usual guess the word game by having someone pick a word, and then everybody has to write a synonym for that word without them knowing what, like the person in, long story straight, long story short, someone has a card, they can't see what the actual clue is. Someone picks it, everyone else knows the word, and so they write in some synonym for it, but here's the trick. Any duplicates get thrown out. So 4 people, say you have bread, and everyone writes sponge bread. Well, if all 4 of them wrote sponge, all those clues are gone, and the person's left to go, white bread, low bread. That's actually more clever than it sounds. Sometimes some of these party games end up being that way. And there you go. Next is Bang the Dice game. Now, Bang, the card game, takes a long time, and it can do tons of players, 8, 9, whatever. Bang the Dice game is a fast, consolidated version of it where you're trying to be a deputy, a sheriff, an outlaw, or a renegade, or multiple of those. And so everyone has a secret role and a secret ability. The game's fast. Even though you take turns, your turns are so fast, you're rolling dice. Sometimes you'll shoot people, sometimes they'll shoot you, sometimes the Indians attack. Amazing things happen. But the point is, you're constantly going, and even if you're out of the game only lasts 15 minutes at the most usually, and so you're back in the fray. But it also gives you that hidden identity, like, I am a deputy, I accidentally shot a sheriff. Okay, I accidentally shot the other deputy, I didn't know it was him, darn it, I messed up. So again, the hidden role thing comes into play there. I really like it. I would play this 2 or 3 times in a row every time we had a chance, and excellent for 5, 6, and 7 players particularly. Next is Cash and Guns. Who doesn't want to shoot a plastic foam gun at someone else? This one's more raucous and a lot more simpler than maybe the other ones, although just it's another one that's like madcap. At a certain time, everyone has to aim and point at other people, and guess who's pointing at who and who doesn't want to point at who, and it's mindless fun. So if you want something, again, raucous fashion, that's the game you might consider. Next is Codenames. Codenames plays in teams. The goal is 2 teams are trying to get the clues on a grid or answered by their teammates before the other team guesses clues on their with the same pool of cards. It's very interesting. You can say one word, and then from that you can say pastrami, 2, and there might be a set of words out there that match with pastrami, like pasta or rhododendron. And so your team tries to guess the words based on that one word clue. If they get it wrong, they could wind up killing off a spy. They could wind up getting basically losing the whole game. It's a very, very large amount of tension. Once you start playing it, though, in teams, it usually gets pretty exciting. I like it. Again, a little more cerebral than, say, Cash and Guns, but still something worth your time. Codenames it is. Next is Formula D. This one is fun because you can play the advanced mode if you want, but most of the time we play the standard mode, which is basically you're on a track and everyone's racing this big old track across the map. It's fun. You can shift gears. Shifting gears has higher die, but you could wind up crashing, turning over if you don't hit the speed just right in a turn with your race car, you might go off the track, etc. Basically, it's usually fun, and there's usually like a neck and neck race right till the end for at least some of the participants. It plays well. It plays quickly. Even at higher player counts. So Formula Day. Next, we have Awkward Guess. This flips a little bit from the action, woo, 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 to much more of a cerebral affair. If you've ever played Clue growing up, you realize that the first and second time you play it, it's great. After that, it's completely mundane. And I never enjoyed it because I'm a snob. That's what I do. I'm really good at it. And so Awkward Guess instead gives you the same kind of layout of a map, but you have a lot more going on to try to figure out who did what, where they did it, how they did it, did they have any accomplices, whatever. Awkward Guests is crazy good, but also very thoughtful. You have to think really hard what to eliminate for clues in a lot of different rooms with a lot of different options. And because of that wealth of options, you could play it over and over 20, 30, 40 times. Matter of fact, there's a sequence of all the missions where you can have like 1 to 100 even if you have the app, where you don't really get the same thing every time. You will play a different game experience, and you might get a little bit of an edge up on trying to guess, well, I can eliminate these rooms because this clue said that this happened with this kind of thing. I'm not giving it away because it's so much fun. But Awkward Guess is probably my favorite clue type game, which plays well with lots of player counts. So there you go. Finally, the grail of games that is 7 players is Seven Wonders. Seven Wonders is a civilization building game. You play 3 ages, and in those 3 ages, you're going to build up your little arsenal of workers, and you build straw and brick and stone and that, and then you use those resources, or you have them, so they apply to the next era where you can get people or attacks, or armies, or you could get culture or market, economic, social, and then you play a final round where you can get victory points based on the things that you've done before. The beauty of Seven Wonders is that it takes no more time, almost no more time, to play with 7 players as it does, say, 3. Everyone takes their turn at the same time. It's a game where you have a set of cards, you play a card, and you give them to someone to your left or your right. They pick a card, you pick a card, give them to someone on your left or your right. They take a card, you take a card, give them to someone on your left or your right. And then after all that round's done, you have a little fighting war, and then you go to the next round. Very simple. The iconography can make it tricky. So this isn't a game you want to bring out if people are like, yay, life is fun, it's Christmas, tingling lights. You want one that's like, hey, this looks like it could be fun, thoughtful. So you have to get the right audience for it. But if you do, Seven Wonders is by far my favorite 7-player game. And finally, it cannot be ignored, this game, because it is such an iconic classic. But if you've not played Cosmic Encounter, even though for very gamers who are not necessarily used to the current board game culture that has crazy, advanced, complicated, whatever, Cosmic Encounter is still a game that has a lot of different rules and a lot of different ways to break those rules. It's fun, it's crazy, it really makes everyone interact with each other. You can really mess people over, you can backstab people, you can be true to your word with people that surprises them if they think you're generally a backstabber, etc. Cosmic Encounter is kind of the ubiquitous one that I would never do a 6 or 7-player game without mentioning. And that's it. That's what we have. If any of those are exciting to you, I made sure that all of the ones I mentioned are available and in print if you are interested in any of these at all. Thanks again, and we'll see you next time on Harebrained Games.